The sun baked the affluent neighborhood of San Verda Heights into a brittle, golden husk. Sprinklers sputtered dry, coughing dust across perfectly manicured, yet dying, bluegrass lawns. High above the sprawling valley, the community perched like a crumbling crown of drought. The city reservoir had dropped below the intake pipes, leaving the network gasping. Enter Raya Veda. She was not a typical landscaper, but a retired alpine climber who read topography like most people read a book, seeing the land's hidden contours. Raya knew that water, much like an expert climber, always sought the path of least resistance. She watched the parched earth, recognizing the desperate need for fundamental intervention. Her mission was clear: transform these brittle slopes into a living, breathing sponge. But first, she needed historical context, a memory of the mountain before the concrete poured. She located Silas Thorne, the neighborhood's oldest surviving resident. Silas lived in a dilapidated mid-century modern home, surrounded by dusty artifacts and memories of a greener, wilder time. Silas unfurled the fragile, yellowed ancestral maps drawn by his great-uncle Alphonse. These were not standard property line documents, but intricate hydrogeological surveys from over a century ago. Alphonse's maps revealed buried aquifers and forgotten ephemeral streams. Raya traced the faded blue ink, realizing the modern city had paved directly over the mountain's natural hydration arteries. The water never vanished, Silas whispered, his voice sounding like dry leaves. It just runs off the asphalt now, starving the bedrock and flooding the concrete channels below. Raya formulated a radical plan to sculpt the hillside. She wanted to carve massive, undulating earthworks to capture the impending rains, slowing the runoff to nourish deep soil. But San Verda Heights was ruled by a ruthless homeowners association. Leading the charge for aesthetic uniformity was Mrs. Sterling, a woman with zero tolerance for ecological experiments. Mrs. Sterling demanded emerald lawns and pristine storm drains, ignoring the severe water restrictions. She viewed Raya's proposed earthworks as an ugly, chaotic assault on refined suburban standards. "We will not have trenches and mud pits in our front yards," Mrs. Sterling declared at the tense monthly meeting. "This is a civilized neighborhood, not a farm." Raya stood her ground, her climbers' resolve unyielding against the bureaucratic storm. "Your concrete infrastructure is a tomb," she countered. "When the heavy rains come, you will drown." Ignoring the HOA's persistent threats of fines and legal injunctions, Raya and Silas began their rogue construction. They disguised their permaculture systems as avant-garde landscaping, calling it art. Working under the cover of twilight, they dug deep swales along the topographic contour lines. These were not mere ditches, but precise geometric cuts designed to intercept flowing water. Below the swales, Raya engineered a massive subterranean sponge. She filled deep excavation trenches with layers of porous limestone, rich wood chips, and organic compost to absorb future deluges. The thick wood chips would cultivate intricate mycelium networks, acting as a biological glue. This living matrix would filter toxins from street runoff, while vastly expanding soil capacity. They capped the subterranean sponge with native deep-rooted grasses and drought-tolerant shrubs. To Mrs. Sterling's completely untrained eye, it merely looked like a strange, sweeping, modern art installation. "It is entirely too lumpy," Mrs. Sterling loudly complained, issuing yet another citation to Silas. But the fines meant nothing compared to the ominous meteorological reports brewing offshore. Meteorologists frantically warned of an unprecedented atmospheric river, a monsoon carrying millions of tons of water. The parched earth of San Verda Heights faced a violently imminent reckoning. The sky turned a bruised, unnatural shade of purple. The air pressure dropped so rapidly that Raya felt it in her joints, an old climber's warning of approaching tempests. When the sky finally broke, it was not normal rain, it was a vertical ocean. Torrents of water hammered the brittle hillsides, instantly overwhelming the city's high-tech storm network. The rigid concrete infrastructure, perfectly designed to instantly shed water, failed spectacularly. Gutters choked on debris, and storm drains backed up, transforming pristine asphalt streets into raging, destructive rivers. Flash floods tore directly through Mrs. Sterling's perfectly manicured bluegrass. The shallow roots offered absolutely zero resistance as sheets of muddy water stripped the expensive topsoil into the canyon. Down the street, water cascaded towards Silas's vulnerable property, gaining a truly terrifying momentum. But as the flood hit Raya's earthworks, the violent kinetic energy encountered a biological break. The carefully leveled swales caught the rushing floodwaters, holding them in wide, tranquil pools. Instead of carving destructive gullies, the muddy torrent was abruptly stopped, pacified, and safely contained. As the massive swales filled, the subterranean rock-filled sponge activated flawlessly. Millions of gallons of water began to percolate downward, filtered by the mycelium and safely injected into bedrock. Raya stood boldly on her porch, rain plastering her dark hair, watching the permaculture magic unfold. Her intricate earthworks were easily swallowing the flood, neutralizing the destructive monsoon's wrath. While neighboring properties suffered severe hillside erosion and hopelessly flooded basements, Silas's yard remained perfectly intact. The undulating mounds of native grasses drank deeply, beautifully storing the atmospheric river. The violent storm raged for 3 continuous days, completely shattering century-old precipitation records. The high-tech, engineered grid of the city was totally paralyzed, showcasing the fatal arrogance of concrete. But deep beneath the Thorn property, the ancient aquifers mapped by Greytuncle Alphonse were steadily refilling. The brilliant subterranean sponge had silently captured an entire season's worth of crucial rainfall. When the heavy clouds finally parted, revealing a completely washed-out, mud-slicked neighborhood, the true victory became undeniably apparent. The community's emergency backup well, dry for over a decade, surged. The immense hydrostatic pressure from Raya's massive water-harvesting earthworks had actively recharged the local water table. It was an undeniable, glorious triumph of ecological design over brittle modern suburban engineering. Mrs. Sterling slowly surveyed the horrible wreckage of her own ruined yard, stepping over cracked concrete and mud. She then stared at the thriving, vibrant oasis surrounding Silas Thorne's home. The petty HOA citations were quietly and permanently withdrawn, immediately replaced by a stunned, humbling silence. The rigid aesthetic rules that governed Senverda Heights no longer made logical sense. Raya's brilliant architectural work beautifully demonstrated the 3 cardinal rules of permaculture water management. First, slow the water down. Break its highly destructive momentum before it strips away valuable soil. Second, spread the running water out. Direct it along the natural topographic contours of the landscape, ensuring that deep hydration reaches every possible inch of the thirsty, desperately waiting roots. Third, sink the captured water deep into the earth. Use biological sponges, rocks, and root systems to safely inject the heavy rainfall back into the underlying, deeply ancient geological aquifers. Slow, spread, and sink. These 3 exceptionally simple mantras had successfully saved a vital piece of the mountain from utter ruin, proving that working intimately with nature remains vastly superior. Word of the miraculously recharged community well spread extremely quickly through the heavily devastated subdivisions. Desperate neighbors, once highly skeptical of the dirt-moving climber, now began knocking on Silas's door. They desperately wanted to know everything about the old ancestral maps, the deep swales, and the strange subterranean sponges. Raya quickly became the reluctant architect of a massive, neighborhood-wide rebellion. Heavy jackhammers soon began to aggressively tear up utterly useless decorative driveways and pristine ornamental patios. In their place, eager residents dug deep infiltration basins, trading sterile concrete for life. Even the notoriously stubborn Mrs. Sterling eventually requested a private consultation, her previous arrogance entirely washed away by the storm. She pointed to her barren lawn and pleaded for help. Raya patiently showed them exactly how to carefully observe the land like a climber studies a sheer cliff face. She taught them to map the subtle microclimates and hidden valleys. The excited community enthusiastically learned to plant dynamic accumulators, deep-rooted weeds that would fracture the highly compacted hardpan. These amazing plants drew up essential minerals, completely preparing the depleted ground. Over the wonderfully transformative next year, the organic aesthetic fundamentally changed the entirety of San Verda Heights. The rigid conformity quickly melted into rolling shapes, embracing the landscape's natural flow. When the brutally hot next dry season finally arrived, the neighborhood irrigation sprinklers remained permanently shut off. The native shrubs and grasses stayed vibrantly, beautifully green without requiring municipal intervention. They were perfectly capable of effortlessly drawing their daily sustenance directly from the deeply saturated, brilliantly engineered subterranean sponges. The community well continued to reliably pump clean, refreshingly cool water. High-tech municipal infrastructure solutions continually failed the much lower valleys, heavily plagued by rolling blackouts and dangerously dry pipes. Yet the mountain enclave beautifully thrived, strongly insulated by biological resilience. Old Silas Thorne often sat peacefully on his wooden porch, lovingly tracing the faded blue ink on his great-uncle Alphonse's antique maps. The subterranean streams were no longer memories. The dry, uncomfortably dusty silence of the neighborhood was joyfully replaced by the constant hum of returning native wildlife. Beautiful birds and busy bees happily flocked to the shaded micro-ponds. These vitally important tiny pools of life were successfully lingering deeply within the wonderfully engineered, perfectly leveled Swales. Raya Veda had sculpted the mountain not by forcefully, aggressively dominating it. Instead, she carefully achieved this breathtaking ecological miracle by quietly listening to the terrain's ancient, underlying geometric patterns. She intelligently carved appropriate paths for the precious water to naturally settle. The highly respected sculptress of San Verda ultimately proved that genuine environmental resilience is absolutely never poured from a heavy cement mixer. It must be carefully grown and tenderly nurtured. Resilience is meticulously, lovingly woven directly into the complex, beautiful, and highly reactive fabric of the living topsoil. The miraculous transformation of the community quickly became an invaluable, celebrated blueprint. Countless surrounding, terribly drought-stricken municipalities immediately took notice. Stunned city planners eagerly visited the vibrant heights, constantly marveling at the sheer, undeniable efficacy of decentralized, biological rainwater catchment systems. They rapidly realized that foolishly fighting immense volumes of water with rigid concrete channels only artificially accelerated the profoundly devastating, highly destructive seasonal cycles of terrible flooding and severe drought. The bright future of sustainable urban design explicitly required a massive, fundamental return to grounded, ecological, earth-based artistry. Raya simply continued her important work, tirelessly moving from yard to yard. She expertly read the incredibly subtle, highly nuanced slopes of the local terrain. Her sharp climber's intuition genuinely never faded, always masterfully seeking the most elegant route through the landscape. Each brand new, beautifully leveled swale dug was yet another definitive, glorious victory against the creeping, intensely terrifying desertification of the wide valley. They were banking on a greener tomorrow. Every single cubic yard of rich, carbon-heavy wood chips securely buried underground became a massive, incredibly valuable deposit directly into their rapidly compounding, highly robust, shared local ecological bank account. Mrs. Sterling surprisingly became the absolute most fervent, highly dedicated vocal advocate for the strict new permaculture neighborhood guidelines. She enthusiastically patrolled the peaceful streets with incredible, unyielding daily passion. She rigorously ensured everyone properly, consistently maintained their crucially important moisture-retaining organic mulches and native vegetative ground covers. The notoriously tense HOA meetings completely transformed from bitter, highly petty battlegrounds. They beautifully evolved into wonderfully collaborative, highly educational ecosystem planning sessions. Excited neighbors eagerly swapped diverse native seeds, happily divided resilient perennial bulbs, and joyfully shared rich, dark, homemade compost. Senverta Heights wonderfully no longer felt like a dangerously brittle, rapidly crumbling, hopelessly dry crown foolishly perched above a tragically dying, heavily concreted, and intensely miserable modern sprawling city. It had beautifully, remarkably become a verdant, incredibly lush, fully functioning, highly efficient watershed, perfectly capable of effectively catching the passing heavy clouds and gently holding the pouring seasonal rains. The deeply nourished soil wonderfully breathed, naturally expanding and gently contracting in perfect harmony with the deeply complex, highly unpredictable seasonal rhythms of the shifting Pacific Ocean coastal weather patterns. The brilliantly engineered, massive subterranean rock-filled sponges stood completely ready, securely operating as a totally hidden, highly protective fortress against the dangerously inevitable, rapidly increasing, highly destructive modern climatic extremes. Down in the dangerously parched valley, the rigid concrete storm drains remained heavily cracked, completely empty, and largely useless. Up on the miraculously revived, beautifully thriving mountain oasis, everything changed. The incredibly precious, life-giving water was deeply, safely tucked away in the delightfully dark, intensely fertile earth. Silas passed away quite peacefully the lovely, blooming following spring, leaving his home. He generously left his beautiful property and the highly detailed ancestral maps entirely to Raya. He confidently knew the mountain's delicate hydrology was finally safe in her incredibly capable hands. Raya lovingly framed Great Uncle Alphonse's fragile, yellowed hydrogeological surveys, proudly hanging them prominently in the main hallway. They were absolutely no longer mere historical curiosities, but powerful, foundational blueprints. They incredibly represented the highly effective, utterly brilliant blueprints of a fully resurrected, deeply resilient, beautifully balanced modern ecosystem. She quite often peacefully walked the lush, green property at dawn, watching the cool mist rise from the heavily saturated, beautifully undulating earthworks. The land felt entirely, wonderfully alive, beautifully pulsing with the slow, intensely steady rhythm of deeply retained water.